Welcome to the Sales Influence Podcast, where we talk about finding the why in how people buy. I'm your host, Victor Antonio. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for lending me your ears. Today, I want to talk about presentations, one of my favorite subjects because it's that important. So, I want you to write these three things down. And if you're listening to this while you're driving, keep it in your brain for now. Write it down when you get to wherever you're going. There's three objectives you should have for every presentation. Three objectives for every presentation. The first one, ask yourself this question. What do I want them to learn? In your presentation or your sales demo, what do you want them to learn? In other words, if I were to ask you, what are the top three takeaways from your presentation, what would they be? What would be the three things that you would say, Victor, if you don't remember anything else, just remember these three things. What are those three things? Because that's where your presentation comes from. Those are the three columns of a great presentation. Then that's what you want them to learn. Number two, what do you want them to feel? Oh, I know it sounds a little touchy-feely. I know what you're thinking. Vic, that's a little touchy-feely, and you're not like that. I'm not talking about touchy-feely. What do you want them to feel? For example, maybe you want them to feel a sense of urgency, like you need to do this. This is something that you have to execute on. What would be that feeling you want to leave them with? Is it a feeling of, I'm falling behind? Is it a sense of urgency? Is it a sense of, we need to catch up? Whatever it may be and whatever form it takes, what do you want them to feel? Think of your past presentations. What did you want them to feel? I ask this question a lot, and people just kind of give me that blank look like, what do you mean, what do I want them to feel? What do you want them to feel? Because if I know what I want them to learn, I can build my presentation around that. That's the logical side of the brain, right? The left side of the brain, right? The logical part, the prefrontal cortex. But now, what do I want them to feel? That's the right side of the brain that hits the amygdala, that reptilian brain, that sense of urgency, that passion, that emotion that stirs them. And then the last thing is an obvious one, which I'm sure you do already, is what do I want them to do? What is your call to action? Do you have it clearly defined? You'll be amazed at how many salespeople don't have a clearly defined call to action when they get to the end of the presentation. I would suggest to you that you build your presentation in reverse, almost like reverse engineering it. Figure out what your call to action is, right? Start there. What's your final call to action? What are you going to ask for at the end of the presentation? Then work backwards, building your top three takeaways, and then whatever that feeling is, and then build your presentation around that. Because if I know what I want them to learn, I want them to learn these three things. These are the big three that differentiate us from our competitors. What do I want them to feel? A sense of urgency. Maybe you just want them to feel comfortable with you, right? Maybe it's a sense of trust. That could be good as well. But number three is, what is your call to action? What are you asking them for? I'm not talking about closing the deal. That's possible. If it's possible, go ahead and close the deal. But maybe it's an advancement of the sale. You take it to the next level, next step, the next meeting. Whatever it is, have that clearly defined. And once you know what you want them to learn, what you want them to feel, what you're going to ask for, build your presentation out, and here is the glue that brings it all together. Rehearse that presentation. I mean, really rehearse that presentation. So it's almost like an airplane coming in for a landing. That's how I want you to visualize your presentation. It's like an airplane coming in for a landing, and it's one of those that just touches down very softly. And the touchdown, when you land, that's your call to action. And I want that call to action to be so natural, so smooth that you can't believe that it landed that softly, much like a plane does on a runway. And that's what I want you to focus on. Three things. What do I want them to learn? What do I want them to feel? And what do I want them to do? Your call to action. And that is it for the Sales Influence Podcast. Leave me some feedback on this one. I definitely want to hear. Do you do these things? If you do, tell me how you do them. Love to read your comments, and I usually do read the comments. You'll find us on iTunes, Stitcher, YouTube, Spotify, Pandora. You'll find everywhere. So wherever you find it, leave your comment. I will make sure that I try to read all the comments I usually get. Now, on that note, I also want to remind you, if you haven't checked out the Sales Velocity Academy, can I just ask you to go to the website and check out the courses that we've put together for you to help you sell more faster. So go to salesvelocityacademy.com. That's salesvelocityacademy.com. And on that note, this is Victor Antonio signing off, always reminding you, sell it ain't hard when you know how. Take care.
Hi, I'm Victor Antonio. I'm an author, sales trainer, and keynote speaker. I'm often asked, what makes a great speaker? Is it someone who delivers real content that the audience can use? Is it someone who engages the audience so they're part of the learning experience? Or is it someone who can motivate an audience to push them beyond their comfort zone and discover new abilities? The answer is yes. But the most important thing to remember is that I'm not there to look good. I'm there to make my client look good. Simply put, it's never about me, and it's always about them.